Well, we are joined now by VOA's roving web reporter, Nico Columbant, our former bureau chief in West Africa. He now produces a multimedia feature for voanews.com called Off the Beaten Path. Nico Columbant, it's so good to see you in the studio. And you know, a lot of our audience have obviously seen your pieces, and I'm sure they're missing you because you used to file quite a lot. Now, we're about to run this series that you've done about Liberians living here in the United States, specifically in Rhode Island. How did you come across this community?
So while I was reporting from West Africa, I was reporting a lot about Liberia, obviously, and it was one of my favorite countries to visit. And I found out while I was in West Africa that the highest concentration of Liberians in the United States was in the small state of Rhode Island. So I wanted to go there and see for myself how Liberians were doing, because hundreds of thousands of Liberians fled Liberia and most came to the United States. So I really wanted to see how they were coming along.
And you obviously saw a lot, because you managed to put a whole 5 series on this. We're going to start the first one today, which you're going to run shortly, and then one every day of the week until Friday. Give us a sense of what we're expecting to see during the week.
Yes, it was really amazing because the day I arrived in Rhode Island, I called up the few contacts I had there to find out, you know, how I could get started. And that very first day, they invited me to a big party they were having to raise funds for back home. And then at that party, I met a lot of people. So for an entire week, I really lived with the Liberian community and saw some of their struggles, their hopes, their challenges, and it was a fascinating experience. And I tried to convey this in my reports. And I like positive journalism as well. A lot of journalists like to focus on the negatives, on the wars, the famines, and all sorts of things like that. But there's always a lot of positive stories out there, and that's also what I wanted to focus on.
And I noticed, at least the pieces I've seen already, most of them, you have them speak they tell their own stories. You're really not even part of the story.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do now. This was initially done for the internet, so as you said, for the website. And so I try to do these stories where it's told in the first person. So, but there's actually a lot of editing involved, because you have to piece it together so it makes sense without the journalist giving his own take on the events. Now,
we were talking earlier, just before we came on air, about how you miss being home. You're, of course, mostly in Ivory Coast and Senegal, and you also went to Liberia. Now that you're back here in the U.S., what are the noticeable things that you're seeing about the African community here in the United States, of course, being of either Ivorian, Liberian, or Senegalese backgrounds?
Well, some of the things, obviously, was that, you know, the music was amazing, and I miss it so much, so every time I can hear some live African music. The food was so good, and so every time I can go to an African restaurant. But yes, the people, how close they are and how tight-knit communities are, and how sometimes you feel a little bit lonely sometimes in the United States because you don't have that constant interaction with your neighbors, with people who live around you. And very much in Rhode Island, where I went to focus on these Liberians, it was almost like being in Africa. Just the weather wasn't as warm. That's always something I miss as well. But you really could feel the warmth of the people. And also there were a lot of divisions. They had a lot of political infighting within the small community. But during my reports, I tried not to focus too much on that, because like I said, I wanted to show some of the positives and how important it is for them to make it in the United States, even though their country is really war-ravaged right now.
Well, that's wonderful. I know it's going to be a great series.
Thank you.
And we're going to go to one right now. This is the first one that you have done, and it's about our introduction, I guess, into the Liberian community in Rhode Island by Nico Columbant.